So welcome to this Rise Up call. For the next 6 weeks, what my goal is to be able to come in and see if each week if I can help you to really rise up your leadership to go to that next level. I've done a lot of work with John Maxwell, and a lot of you guys are familiar with him. But John says that everything rises and falls on leadership. There's some important words there. First word is everything, my friends. Not some things, not occasionally things, not like a few things, everything. It rises, which is the increase, and it falls, which is the decrease on leadership. And so everything in your business will rise and fall in leadership. And we live in an interesting time. It's a time probably unlike any of us have ever experienced before. And I think it's like our moment to rise up. It's our moment to go to the next level in our leadership. So what our tendency is to shrink when times are tough. It's to kind of pull back, maybe become more quiet, maybe dim your light a little bit. And what I want to see if I can encourage us to do as a community of leaders is to rise up and go to a new level, to the next level, because everything rises and everything falls on our own personal leadership. And so uh, I want to be able to share this with you guys. I hope that it adds value to you. I hope it helps you go to the next level in your life, next level in your leadership. I hope you take some really great notes. I asked Courtney Davis, for those of you that don't know her, I tell her, I go, Court, you're a force of nature. I mean, this woman is no joke. She's a elite black one, platinum black one too, I believe, or platinum black one as well. And she's unbelievable. She's been with us for less than a year. Next month will be the 1 year anniversary of her joining Modere. She's added a ton of value to obviously to her team, but really to the company in general. She's speaking at our leadership event here at Fall Social Marketing Summit to the leaders, which is really a great honor. And she and I it's interesting because I've been having this feeling that I wanted to get all of you together. It's a little hard sometimes at some point because there's so many elites, there's so many great leaders in Modere. Sometimes it gets a little bit hard to communicate with everybody. But she and I were on the phone the other day. She goes, "Would you be open to this?" And I go, "Dude, I've been wanting to do this anyway." So the answer is yes, I'm open to it. I want to do it anyway. So uh, she and I are going to go back and forth today. I want you guys to imagine that the mentoring session that she and I will have is a mentoring session that we'll all have. We can all have this together. I'll say this in general. My friends, this is separation season. I would write this in your notes. This is separation season. You've been hearing people say, and I've even said it myself, like, man, these are crazy times. Like, wow, this is crazy. Like, there's so much going on. It's kind of a crazy times. Wayne Dyer said, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I want to just invite you, at least just for a moment, to be open to this idea. What if this isn't crazy times? What if this is the greatest time in human history? What if you were prepared for this moment? Like, what if this is your moment? Like, what if all of the stuff that's happening in your personal life, all the stuff that's happening around you has created fertile soil? Like, if you look at some of the great people in history, the Lincolns, the Martin Luther Kings, the Rosa Parks, the Malaya, and you look at all these different names, the Churchills. There's two reasons those people. Number one, because the crazy times created fertile soil. That's the first reason you know. In other words, that's number one. Second is they shine so bright during crazy times. They led the way during tough times. If everyone's leading the way, if everyone's shining bright, when you shine bright, you blend in with everyone else. When everyone's full of fear, you're full of faith, you stand out. When everyone's dull and dark and you're vibrant and light, you stand out. When everyone is scared and you're full of hope, you stand out. My friends, this is your moment. This is your moment within your individual families. This is your moment in your individual communities, in your churches. This is your moment in your teams. Your teams need you to shine brighter right now. Your teams need you to step up your game. This is your moment. This is your time to separate yourself from everyone else. This is separation season. As far as I'm concerned as a company, this is our time. Like, we are going to go just crush market share. Do you want to know why? We're going to separate ourselves because we'll be the ones that lead out during these interesting, crazy times. The crazy times create fertile soil. You know who Churchill is because of the crazy times. He led. Martin Luther King said it this way. He said, "Stars shine brightest on the darkest nights." Well, good news for us. We got some dark nights. You know, good news for us. We're stars that shine bright. So let's go to the next level. Let's raise your frequency and your vibration and go to that next level. One quick thing, and then Cord, I'll bring you on. This isn't just going to happen just because. Like my friends, I want to encourage you to limit your news consumption right now. Like proactively, I want to encourage you to lower the frenetic energy of your life right now. I want to also encourage you to proactively increase your level of personal development right now. Like, what are you listening to? Who are you hanging out with? Like, what books are you reading? What podcasts are you in? Brendon Burchard did the biggest study of high performers in history of humanity called High Performance Habits. He says, if you were to tap a high performer on the shoulder and you were to say to them, hey, Stacy, what's your latest dream? You know, hey, Sarah, what's your latest dream? A high performer can answer that question 4 to 7 seconds faster than everyone else. Write that in your notes. 4 to 7 seconds faster than everyone else. Why? It's because it's their dominant thought. Their dreams are their dominant thought. Their dreams are on the front of their mind. Their dreams are on the tip of their tongue. Like they're just thinking about it all the time. Right now, if you tap most people on the shoulder and you say, hey, what's your latest dream? They're gonna be like, have you even seen what's happening with the world? And you're like, whoa, dude, why? What's their dominant thought? You get to control this stuff. There's the gap between, in essence, the events of our life and the outcomes of our life. You can't always control events and you can't always control outcomes, but you can always control the gap. What's in the gap? Write this word down. It's your response. You get to control your response. You get to control your emotional maturity and your emotional stability. You get to control that stuff. And so you get to control the response that you have to life. You get to control how bright your light shines. And you are in control of that. You say, yeah, but all this stuff. No. It's you. You get to take full control, full ownership of your life, full ownership of your emotions. And I'm not trying to say it's easy. It's not easy. It's, in fact, write this in your notes. In fact, it's rare to be able to do this. You're rare if you can do this. If you can control your emotions, if you're emotionally mature and emotionally stable, you're rare. And I want you to write this in your notes. Everything that's rare is more valuable. Everything that's rare is more valuable. So a diamond that's rare is more valuable. A painting that's rare is more valuable. A friendship that's rare is more valuable. Anything that's rare is more valuable. And if you want to increase your value to the marketplace, be rare. Be rare. Be unique. Be the star that shines bright when everyone is dull in their light. That's kind of the preface for this. This is separation season, my friends. You're going to look back at your life 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, and be like, that's when I separated from everybody else. Like, it was just kind of this, interesting, crazy time in the world. And like, I don't know. A lot of people went like this or like this. I just separated. I went to a whole different level. My frequency and vibration, I just took control of my mind and I took control of my life. How many of you have heard of, I'm riffing for 1 sec. Is everyone okay? I'm sorry. Let me riff for 1 more sec and then we'll get into the questions. Have you guys ever heard of the book called Man's Search for Meaning? It was written by Viktor Frankl. Does anyone know who Viktor Frankl was? Viktor Frankl his family was hauled away during Auschwitz. He was in Auschwitz. He was a professor that was put into Auschwitz. His mom died. His dad died. His daughter died. He had frostbite. He froze during the harsh winters. The level of devastation in this man's life during the camps was almost unbearable. And yet he wrote this book called Man's Search for Meaning. He found happiness in the camps. How is this even possible? It's because you talk about this, the darkest nights. It's one of the darkest nights in the history of humanity. You say, how did he do this? He found a way to find joy in the gaps. He assigned the meaning. He assigned it. So 3 quick words I would encourage you to write down. Belief, meaning, emotions. So here's how it works. The belief that you have, the things you believe, will create meaning for you. And the meanings you attach to things will create emotions for you. The emotions that you feel. So people say like, hey, Court, where do you live? I live in Louisiana. Where she really lives and where we all really live is, where do you live emotionally? The emotional state that you live in. If you're living in fear, stress, anxiousness, piss, or grateful or hopeful or joyful, they're emotional states. And wherever you live emotionally is actually where you live. Because you can live in Louisiana, but you can be full of fear. And you actually live in a fearful state. And so what Viktor Frankl was able to do is find meaning from his belief systems. He created a belief system that there was meaning in the suffering. And when he created a meaning in the suffering, it gave him new emotions. He became one of the most influential men in history. That's the power of creating updating your belief systems, my friends. And so again, maybe it's as simple as this. Maybe the belief system is as simple as, what if this isn't a crazy time? What if this is the greatest time in human history? What if this is our moment? What if we've all been prepared for this moment? Like, what if we've all been, designed to be here for this moment? So I don't know. That's one way to maybe look at it. It's maybe a shift in perspective. Oh my gosh, Cord, that was a long start, but I'm so honored to have you on here. Thank you for helping me to get this organized and for helping lead the way in our company for the last, I guess it's been 11 months now, which is crazy to think it's, it feels like it's been forever, and it feels like it just started. It's so interesting, but just really appreciate you and the miraculous and extremely inspiring journey you've been on. You posted a before and after picture, and if you guys want to go see to her like Instagram or whatever, she posted this before and after picture of literally a year ago. Now that was a physical transformation, which is just blow your mind, unbelievable. However, Cord, I feel like you've also been on like in essence, a leadership transformation. You were unbelievable a year ago, and you're like at a whole different level now. And I really honor that about you. So thanks for jumping on with me, and I'm excited to be able to go back and forth.
Oh, you're so sweet, Justin. And I just appreciate your kind words. Thank you, everybody, for showing up this morning. Justin, happy birthday.
Thank you.
I want to honor you.
I'm getting old, dude. I'm getting some grays. I'm getting old.
I'm older than you, so I got you beat. But really, I just want to say, first of all, thank you for sacrificing your time. I know each and every one of us that we get to sit at your feet and just get wisdom and knowledge. We're just so grateful. So thanks for sacrificing your special day with us. When Justin and I were on a call last week, if I can just get transparent and vulnerable with you guys for a second. And if you guys know me, that's kind of like the way I roll. So I would love to say it's an exception, but it's not. I'm just going to throw out all my stuff on the table in the first 5 seconds. I was in a little bit of a struggle the last couple of weeks, and as a leader, I feel like not only do we have to go first when it comes to paving the way for greatness, but we also have to go first about being vulnerable and owning when we struggle, right? And when I was on the phone with Justin, I was just honest with him about some of the things that I was feeling and some of the heaviness that I was feeling and kind of where the lack was in my own leadership. And as he was talking this morning and I was looking at all of you guys, I feel like I asked for this space to really create community with each of us. And I thought, if I'm feeling this way, I'm not the only one. And I wanted to create a space to lock arms with other leaders who could encourage me and empower me. And we could sit, under the oak of righteousness that Justin is and his wisdom. But also as he was talking, I'm like, this isn't just about this. This is about us not only getting fed and leaning on each other, but it's actually, how do we step on each other's strengths right now and really rise up? How do we go to the next level? Because I don't want to look back on the season and just say, oh, I made it. Or I don't want to look back on the season and say, whew, we like barely made it by the skin of our teeth in 2021. I want to look back on this, like Justin said, and really birth a new calling. I want to birth a new rise up posture within myself and the leaders that are on my team. And so I guess, Justin, as we start kind of this question dialogue, I know this next 6 weeks will unfold whatever way it's supposed to and whatever value we can all draw from you. But I think for me, struggling as a mama and struggling as an entrepreneur and struggling as a businesswoman and a wife in a season of our lives that seems really, really heavy. I would ask you, what are the 3 things that you would look at me or you would look at someone and say, as a leader, so it helped me to understand I need to really, my self-development has to be on point right now. And listen, you guys, I will be the first to admit I had to turn off the news. I wanted to be informed, and I don't even really watch the news. It was really like my Instagram, right? What we seek, we find. And so what I was seeking was maybe answers or maybe a little bit of, I wasn't finding it from that. Right. So I had to change my source and I had to start seeking things that were going to create faith instead of fear in me. Right. But as a leader, Justin, you know, all of us on here are elites or P3s. So people look to us. And if we're feeling a little insecure and unsettled, then we know our teams are. Right. So what would be the 3 things that you would say to us that we can do, or I guess how we can change our posture as a leader to really step into? I feel like when I look at you, you're so consistent, you're so even. I know you must have days that you feel overwhelmed or stressed or aggravated that we asked you to do a Zoom on your birthday. But tell us maybe 3 things that we can really focus on right now to really help us step into that rise up posture, not just surviving, but really thriving to that next level of our leadership.
So, at the risk of repeating myself, some of the things I've covered, I'll walk through this again, or some of this will be again. First thing is this: um, it's 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 there's an equation. I equals I O. I equals I O. Information in equals information out. So I would change the information in right now. Like, I don't know how else to say it, dude. Like if all you're consuming, let me just level set, because I'm not trying to tell you guys what you need to believe about what's happening. We're all navigating all this together. I'm cool with that. What I would share with you is this, though, and I think this, regardless of where you stand on how you're processing all the information, let me share this. The news, and I say this very unfortunately, I wish it wasn't this way, but the news is not meant to inform you. You realize that, right? The news is designed to startle you. The news is making dollars, dude. And so it's what's called clickbait. You know, in other words, it's like if you can click and you can watch and you can consume, your attention is the product they're selling. It's not like back in the day. It's so interesting. My son Isaac and I will talk to my dad. My dad's his grandpa. And my dad grew up with Walter Cronkite and 60 Minutes or whatever. Like, he grew up with just these, like, the baseline. You would go to the news at night after work, you'd click on it and you watch it and you would be informed. That was actually how it was designed. That's not how it's designed anymore. It's not. It's designed to startle you so they get more views, more ratings. Like, in fact, the news has been crushing it for the last, let's say, 18 months. They're just like, this is awesome, with all the stuff that's happening. So what I'm sharing with you is, you want to take back your control of your focus right now. You want to make sure that your control of your focus is super on point. So the first thing is information in equals information out. It's like emotion out. It's like the way you start looking at it. So the first thing I would do is I would just lower the frequency of the world, dude. First thing I would do. It doesn't mean I'm trying to tell you not to be informed and all that kind of stuff, but I'm just telling you, I would lower the frequency of the world. Second thing I would do, going back to the I equals I-O, I would change the information in. Like, I did an elite retreat 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, a week and a half or so ago. And I thought to myself before everyone got there, and I felt like I had like electricity in my fingertips, but I was like, dude, I hope these guys, I don't know if they're going to learn anything from me one way or the other, but I just hope them being around me, they're like, dang, this guy's freaking his frequency's high. I remember I went to a Tony Robbins event. It was 10,000 people in a stadium. This is, maybe 3 years ago, 10,000 people in a stadium. If any of you guys have ever been to one of these, like the Unleash the Power Within events, it's almost like, what is happening? The dude goes from like 11 in the morning to like 2 in the morning, and doesn't ever take a drink of anything. It doesn't ever use the restroom. You're like, what's going on? His frequency is unbelievable. Like, his human frequency is almost unbelievable. And I thought to myself, I'm going to raise my frequency right now. Like, I'm going to raise my vibration. So that's the second thing I would encourage you to do, is like, get very intentional with what you're putting into your mind. Intentional, my friends. Intentional with what you're listening into. Corey, you're talking about like being on Instagram, for example. Dude, guys, eliminate the scroll right now. Don't just go scroll. Like, get super hyper focused on, if I'm going to go to Instagram, I'm going to do my work and I'm going to move, I'm going to leave. Like, you want to be, I would write this in your notes. Be a creator, not a consumer right now. If you want to create separation during this season, you want to create separation between you and everyone else, be a creator, not a consumer. Consumers are consuming all the content from everyone else. Creators are creating the content. Shift, guys, think of it this way. Shift the time that you're consuming, shift the energy in which that consumption that is making you feel into creative release for you, where you start creating more, not consuming more, creating more videos, more posts. You're the creator, because this is how you separate yourself. Everyone else right now is doing what? They're all in consumption mode. They're consuming all the information. Again, one more reason it's separation season. If your content's the one they're consuming, guess who they're going to start looking to? If people learn from you, you become an expert. If people learn from you, if people go to you for information, you become an authority. You become an expert. So like right now, it's like, be that voice for people. They're consuming at a high level. Their frequency of consuming is very high. Be the one that's created the content for them to consume versus getting wrapped up into the consumption of other people's content. Is that helpful at all, that small shift? Guys, let's raise our level. The third thing I would say is this. Keep perspective. Keep perspective. It's easy to look at life like this. It's like all you see is today, and all you see is last week, and all you can see. I was on the phone with 2 weeks ago with a guy that was actually a mentor of mine about 10 or 11 years ago. The short story, by the way, I'm going to go back to World War II, so I apologize for this, but the short story is this guy's parents met in Auschwitz. His mom and dad met in Auschwitz. His mom was from Poland. They weren't Jews. They actually were sympathetic to the Jews, and they were rounded up and put into Auschwitz. They obviously survived the camps. When the war ended, they were people with no country. They had literally rags on their shoulders. They were just, can you imagine? They're just like, the gates open. They're just like, let's walk out. They scrounged up enough money to go to Ellis Island in New York City. They get to New York, they raised 5 sons in a cinder block apartment complex with no running water, these 5 boys. One of the 5 boys was the guy that was my mentor. He had done $2 billion in business and network marketing. The other 4 sons were all successful in their own rights. Some of them were academics. One of them was in the ministry. I think another one was in business, but they'd all in their own rights had become very successful in their own careers. My friend asked his dad once, his dad would tell him stories about the camps, and he said he used to take these beatings. The beatings were so intense that he would go unconscious. He would pass out. And he said to him when he was old enough to kind of comprehend the war and kind of comprehend the camps and kind of comprehend these terrible beatings, he said, "Dad, how did you survive the camps? How did you survive these horrific beatings you would go through?" And his dad said, "You know what, son, it's interesting." He said, "When I would go unconscious, I would have visions of you." He said, "I would have visions of my sons." Now remember, the sons didn't exist at this point. Because it was my visions of you that kept me alive. It was my visions of my boys that kept me alive. And he gave me a plaque, a wood engraven plaque that had 3 words. I'd encourage you to write these in your notes. It said, "Lead with vision." Vision is, you can't just see this far. You've got to get more perspective, like look further out. Like we're not like look a year, 5 years, 10 years, 50 years out. Like get yourself some perspective so where you can cast some vision, because when times are tough, you want to lead with vision. You want to extend your vision, have more vision. And again, I go back to what we talked about. If the only, information in, which will create information out, the I equals IO, the information in is kind of negative, it will limit your vision. It will limit your perspective. All you'll see is just this right in front of your face. The stress, the pressure of today. My friends, we're going to get through all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like our best days are ahead of us, dude. Like we've got great lives ahead of us. So many people's lives to bless. Like this is just the beginning of like great days ahead. So in other words, when you change that, it starts to change your perspective. Your depth perspective changes, and you want to lead with vision. So that's the way I would encourage you to be thinking about it. That's what I'm trying to do, is just say, okay, like where are we going? Can I give you guys one quick example? Every month this year has been the biggest month ever for that month. So for example, in Modere, we had our biggest January ever, biggest February ever, biggest March ever, etc. Okay. Well, or what do we just finish? August. August was my volume. So in this case, our volume was down in August over July. It was actually lower in August over July. I'm just being 100% transparent with you for a second. So here's the deal. It was the biggest August we'd ever had ever in the history of the business, ever. If on January 1st, someone would have said, hey, Laura, check this out. Hey, Steph, check this out. August, we're gonna have the biggest August we've ever had ever. Are you guys cool with it? We'd all be like, sign me up, dude. Let's do this. But when it was down for some people versus July, you guys know how it is. People are like, what the crap is happening? You know, and I'm like, dude, take a freaking deep breath. Don't just look like this. Cast some vision. So as a leader, you always want to be 6 months ahead of your team. Where are we going? Where's it all headed? So I'll give you guys a quick example. Well, this month will be the biggest September we've ever had. Like, isn't this crazy? We're like, it's kind of slow. It's like, no, dude, it's not slow. We're killing this thing. We're going to have the biggest September we've ever had. October is going to be another really strong month. It'll probably be the biggest October we've ever had. November is going to be off the charts. December will be lower than November, but December will be off the charts. Compared to normal network marketing, we're going to kill December. But December for us, because we'll have all the accelerator bonuses ending, December is going to be off the charts for us. We do great promotions, the whole thing. January and February of next year is when we launch Social Retail 2.0. Guys, this is just the beginning of where this is all headed. You guys realize this, right? Like, we've done $2 billion with 1.0. Like I've been working on the 1.0 in my mind and then physically for over a decade. I've been working on the 2.0 for like 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just the start of where this is all going. So once you have some depth perspective, you're like, oh, well, freak. We're fine. 2022 will be the biggest year in the history of Modere by a long ways. So cool. Like, it's all good. It's just all part of the rhythm. Now, can I share something else with you? If any of your volume was lower last month, can I just talk to you super direct for 1 second? Then Cord, I'll throw it back to you. We had new Elite 3s launched last month. They launched and joined last month and went Elite 3 last month. So my mentor said this. He said, son, he was in his 60s. I was in my 20s. He said, if anyone's growing in the company and you're not growing, he said, it's your fault. He said, if no one's growing, it's the company's fault. Do you guys catch that? So if your volume's down, if your volume's not where you want it to be, maybe you're flat, maybe you're down a little bit. If anyone's growing, it's your fault. Because it's possible. Like, let's go. Let's do this thing. If no one's growing, then it's the company's fault. So here's the point. Guys, we've got the tiger by the tail. We have people coming in here. In fact, one of those launches, Madison Vining, and I'm going to share a perspective on this. Madison Vining's, and I'm not going to give you her income, but her launch last month was the biggest launch, the biggest income I've ever seen someone earn in 1 month in my entire career of network marketing, ever. And she did it all last month in August. I've never seen someone earn more in 1 month. I've never even heard of someone earning more, let alone like help launches. And I've done some big launches, dude. That was in this quote unquote down month. Are you following what I'm saying? So if anyone can do that now, how many of you say, well, I know some of you don't know her yet. She's still so new, but it's easy to say, well, that's easy for her to do because she's so-and-so. Listen, if you would have sponsored her, would you want the story to be told? If she was on your team, would you be happy about it? Yes. So here's a secret to success. Write this in your notes. It took me years to figure this out. It took me years. Use their success story to build your success story. Use their success story to build your success story. So Amber Brill said, I want all the stories to tell. This is so important as elites. As elites, you want to constantly be updating your story. My friends, update your story. Update the story you're telling people. Like, I worry sometimes that we tell the same story we told 6 months ago or a year ago or 3 years ago when we first joined. You want to be updating it, like updating the story all the time, constantly. You're always updating your story. Apple doesn't tell you the same story they told you in 1979 anymore. They updated it in 1984, they updated it in 1997, they updated it in 2007. They're telling you a different story today. Ford 6 years ago was worth 56 billion. Ford Motor Company 6 years ago, 2015, was worth 56 billion. Tesla was worth 31 billion. Ford was almost double. And there's tweets with them being like, who does Tesla even think that they are? 6 years later, Tesla went from 31 billion to 641 billion, and Ford went from 56 to 51. Ford's down 5 billion, Tesla's up whatever that is, 1,200%. I mean, unbelievable. Here's the point. Update the story, dude. Tell a new story, tell a new story, tell a new story. Why are some teams up and some teams down? Tell a better story. You know what I'm saying? Like, update it. Use some of these new cross-line stories. You say, well, it's not even on my team. It doesn't matter if it's in your team. Use their success story to build your success story. If anyone's having success, point at that. Use it. Like, use those. It's human nature to say, well, Courtney joined 11 months ago and she's built this huge team. So kind of like, you know, a little bit of like, well, screw her. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't relate to her. No, dude. Use her success story to build your success story. Use the stories to build your story. Once I figured that out and I didn't resent the success, I actually like looked for it. I looked for more arrows in my quiver. Boom, it unlocked it for me. So I'd really encourage you guys to do that.
So good. Absolutely exactly what we all needed to hear, I believe. I feel like, you know, as leaders, getting these deposits is exactly what we need to feel empowered and feel armed to go out and lead our teams, you know, so thank you for that, Justin. I feel like one of the kind of deficits that I keep hearing consistently when I'm talking to my leaders or I'm talking to other crossline people is the word community. That's something that I feel like a lot of us thrive on in this business. And because we don't necessarily have the in-person community, with Phoenix being, you know, shifted in a different direction, I want you to speak to a little bit. I've always been someone that probably is a little insensitive when it comes to this, because I'm like, if you need community, go out and create community, right? Which is why we have this call today. Because I'm like, I need to sit with other elites. I need to sit with other people and see their face and hear their voice. What would you say as leaders, some tips or advice as we go through and start to strengthen our communities? Because, you know, a lot of our teams come to this for that reason, you know, and I feel like this is a moment or an opportunity for us to shine brighter and to build and strengthen our community muscle, even though we can't get in person as much as we'd like. So what are some, you know, some feedback, advice that you would have to us as leaders of how to strengthen and evolve our community spaces to then go and serve and support our teams even better?
Do you guys mind if I just start? I just want to dive into Phoenix. Can I just address Phoenix with us as leaders? Like, you're like, what happened and why did we change or whatever? So I was in a lot of those behind the scenes discussions of deciding kind of what would be the best thing. And we had leaders that were saying we should do it. And it's a risk if, you know, we all kind of assume whatever risk we have when we travel, we assume whatever risk we have when we go to events. And then we had other leaders who were just like, yo, let's not do it. I just, you know, I don't want to, I feel like we shouldn't. So there was healthy dialogue on both sides. And there was some momentum at the time of other network marketing companies that had done events, and some of the folks at the event had gotten sick and had some challenges there. And so there were some issues there. Now you could also say, hey, they're doing NFL and college football. Like, what are we talking about? Like, events, like, let's go do this thing, you know? And I totally understand that. I think from a company perspective, the company was put, in essence, in a little bit of a lose-lose situation. If you do the event, you're gonna have people be like, how dare you guys? You're so irresponsible. And if someone gets sick and, you know, heaven forbid you have someone dies, total lose. We'd all agree, like, none of us want that. Okay. On the flip side, if you don't do the event, then to Court's point, we don't get to see each other, and you guys know how therapeutic it is to see each other and be like, I love you, it's so good to see you. So you're in a little bit of, you know, we all want to do the events. We all love to see each other. We love to Court's point, build that community and that camaraderie and that culture that you can only do really in person. As much as we love Zooms, it's just different. And so you were in a little bit of a lose-lose. And I think what the company did, and I actually agree with them, I think it was, you know, there's no perfect answer. It was almost like a lose-lose. Whatever one you pick was the wrong answer in a way. I think they picked the less risky lose-lose. They took the best the least worst option. I don't know. Maybe that's not even a right way to say it. But the point is that I probably think that they made the right choice. Is it a bummer? Yeah, of course it's a bummer, dude. Yes, I couldn't wait to see all of you guys. I couldn't wait to be there with you and to you know, build the culture in the community. But you know, it is what it is. And I want to talk about Cabo real quick. As of right now, so imagine this is the scale, the scale. This would be like 50-50. This would be Cabo's happening, and this is Cabo's not happening. Right now, the scale is leaning way strong towards Cabo happening. So let me start there. Like we're feeling confident with it. The leaders, even the ones that were very hesitant about this fall social marketing summit, maybe very vocal, are feeling like this is a little bit different. We'll be more outside. We're not just necessarily in a room. So anyway, I feel like the momentum for Cabo is very strong, right? So anyway, we're all navigating this new environment, as I guess the point I'm saying, and I felt like the company did the least. They had two lose options, and they picked the least risky one, and I think it was probably the right move. Is my take on it. As bummed as I was, I was like, oh dang, I really would love to see everyone, but we'll get back there here sooner than later. So I want to start there. So Court, let me answer the question about community. I worked with a guy years ago. He was a second generation networker. His dad was a college professor that ultimately became full-time in network marketing. On this guy's 18th birthday, on his 18th birthday. So today's my 41st, is on this dude's 18th, right? He said to his dad, he goes, Dad, I'm in. He signed up, saved up his money, signed up day one of his 18th birthday. And then his dad goes, awesome, son. And then now remember, he's 18 years old, no credibility, never done business in his life. And he says to his dad, he goes, so Dad, what am I supposed to do? And this is what his dad said. And Court, this would be the answer to your question. Write this in your notes. His dad said, son, if you lead, people will follow. So lead, boy, lead. And I know we have a lot of powerful women on here. Here's what I would share. If you lead, people will follow. So lead, girl, lead. So you say, how do I create culture? How do I create community? You create it by you leading out, you leading the way, you being the one. People say to me all the time, man, how do I attract? So I'm speaking in about 3 weeks with John Maxwell, Ed Milet, and Jamie Lima Kerm. She sold It Cosmetics for $1 billion. And I'm speaking on the stage with those guys. My lesson is on the law of magnetism. How do you attract people into your life? You know what I'm saying? Do you guys want to know the first answer? The law of magnetism, as Maxwell teaches it, is you don't get what you want. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So in other words, are you the magnet that is attracting the people to you? Like, are you growing into that? Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. I would say be the person you wish to see in your organization. So Court, if you had someone in your team that was like, man, they're so good at creating culture and community and loving on everybody, be that one, be that person. You say, well, it's unnatural for me. Build that skill, build that muscle, like be that person, be the one that figures that stuff out. Be the one that leads the way. Be the one that takes action. Be the one that creates culture and community. Be the one that recognizes your people. Write this in your notes. You can't over-recognize. You can't over-recognize. Now, you might be listening saying, well, my team's kind of smaller, and so it's kind of hard to build culture and community. It's just, I only have so many runners. I remember like when Tony and Sarah and I first were launching our teams 8 years ago. I remember saying things like, okay, we were doing recognition. Like I'm talking like recognition at our events, like the actual, like a big event. And you only have 120 people that show up to the whole thing, And it's like, hey, how are we doing recognition? Who's speaking? How are we doing it? Because there's no leaders yet. They're just these normal people, We're like, dude, if someone hit a rank, they're going to cross stage. If someone got an enrollment, they're going to cross stage. I was just like, dude, if someone can smile, they're going to cross stage. If someone had a mother, they're going to cross stage. Like, it's just like, dude, at some point we just recognized everybody for, like, is anyone here that can smile? Good, come up on stage. Woo! The point I'm trying to make is you recognize them for everything because you didn't, like, now it's hard because you have so many big, huge elites, like all of you. Like, you have so many leaders that just because you can smile, you don't get to cross stage anymore. Now you have to be like a diamond backflip ninja to cross stage, right? The point I'm saying is you can start small. Recognize people for everything, all their actions, all their activities, all their results, like everything that they can do. Start creating culture, start creating community. Another thing I would encourage you is, can you get your team together and do some things that are kind of fun for them right now? Maybe a little bit lighter for them right now. Maybe you get together and you guys do have, maybe you start a book of the month kind of club. And so Laura shares her chapter, and then, Dari shares her chapter, and Stacy shares hers, and you kind of like start to, so it's not just like, did you get a customer? Did you get a team member yet? Like we're finding other ways to add value. I'll give you guys another quick one, just as an example. For those of you that do have people local, and this is a great prospecting one, by the way. So at our elite retreat, one of the things that all of these elites did, which I thought was really cool of these elites, we rented out a restaurant for one of the lunches, and then we had a private chef for the weekend. And the chef had a staff. They had like, eight staff members that were helping. And we all pitched in $100 each. Everyone pitched in $100 each. Can I share with you guys where I got the idea? I have a friend of mine here in Salt Lake City that is a realtor. And during the height of the pandemic, where kind of restaurants in essence were just taking a humongous beating, worse than they even are now, right? The restaurants, the waiters, the waitresses, etc. He did these little masterminds, just little lunches where you get a bunch of local business people from the community, and they would go to the restaurant, they'd have lunch, they'd all meet each other, and they all gave a $100 tip. And then he filmed it on Instagram, and it turned into this thing. So that's where I got the idea. Well, all of these elites, to their credit, went in and gave $200 each. So $100 for the lunch, $100 for the dinner. We gave $4,000 per meal, $8,000 total, $8,000. Isn't it crazy how a little bit goes a long way when you have a lot of people? So in other words, $100 each for 40 people is a lot of money, right? It was so powerful, guys. It was so powerful. It was honestly probably my favorite thing of the whole weekend. Okay, building culture, building camaraderie, building teamwork. So imagine for your local teams, if everyone got together and we said, hey, you know what, let's all go to lunch. There's 17 of us local. Let's all get together. Let's all love on each other. Let's all, share best practices, best ideas, and let's all give $100 each. Imagine if you guys did it as a networking event. Get all of the business people around. It's an easy thing because everyone wants to give, everyone wants to serve, everyone wants to help. And you give it to that little waitress that helps or that little waiter that helps. What we did is we pulled the cooks out from the back. The guys are back there scrubbing the grease. They come back, and here they are the one place had 10 employees, so they got $400 cash each. It was awesome. So anyway, there's just little things that we can do to kind of get out of our normal box. But the main thing is this, my friends. If you lead, not if your upline leads, not if Courtney leads, not if the elite black above you, not if the elite 3 above you, not if the company leads. If you lead, my friends, you say, but I'm not even that big of a leader. Listen, if you lead, people will follow. So lead girl, lead boy, lead. It would be what I would share.
Love it. So good. I love all of the personal responsibility, because I feel like a lot of times, even as leaders, we kind of sit back and wait for someone else to take initiative, or we wait for someone else to take the lead. And now is our time to really rise up as this elite community and say, we're not going to wait anymore. Like, we're going to be the ones that go out and create it. So I love that so much, Justin. The other part I love is that this isn't easy. My segment that I'm speaking on at Fall Social Marketing is called Warrior Vision, about getting up and fighting your battles, because I think there's a misconception with our teams, as leaders, that it's supposed to be easy sometimes. And, you got to wake up every day and put your armor on and get ready to fight in your personal life, in your business life, in your entrepreneurial life. So I feel like really opening our eyes and reminding us that this isn't supposed to be easy, but we're up for the task. And so, yeah, thanks for that. It's very encouraging.
Can I piggyback real quick before she goes to the next question?
Yeah.
My friends, if it's hard, it's meant to be hard. You're a leader, dude. Do you want to know what leaders do? We freaking solve problems all day long. That's what leaders do. Now problems should be solved at the lowest level. Not every problem should reach you. They should be solved at the lowest level. But that's what leaders do. Leaders solve problems. That's what leaders do. We're leaders. Leaders, if you do what's hard, your life will be easy. If you do what's easy, your life will be hard. We're leaders. Leaders fight for freedom. Leaders do the hard things. My kids, I'm always like, my little girl's in drill. Oh my gosh, how many of you guys have had dance girls? I mean, this is crazy how hard these girls have to work. Like, it makes playing basketball or football look easy. My son, I'm always like, dude, do the hard stuff. Do the hard stuff. Do the hard stuff. It's meant to be hard. But if you'll do what's hard your whole life, your life will be easy. But if you do what's easy your whole life, your life will be hard. So don't mistake. You say, I just want to do the easy stuff. I didn't mean to be a leader. I just wanted a new microwave. Like, no, you're now a leader. And so as a leader, you do the hard things. Leaders solve problems. Leaders lead out. Leaders are the ones that if you lead, people will follow. That's us. We're leaders. So we do all the hard stuff. It's not easy. It's hard. But if you do what's hard, your life will be easy, my friends. So it's worth it. The leadership journey is a worth it journey. Sorry, Court. I just wanted to piggyback on
No,
that.
no, I love that. So in our last 10 minutes or so, I want to shift to a little bit more, I guess, strategic, tactical business stuff. I think it falls into the entrepreneurial category, maturity category, meaning that when I have a conversation with someone who's been an entrepreneur for many years, this sort of conversation comes a little easier. But for us as elites, as we're leading maybe some of those new team leaders or directors that are struggling in this area, two directions. One, the impact that they feel when their paycheck is down, which you spoke to that a little bit. Somebody that's always had a steady paycheck and then they come into a business like this and they have those down months, man, it can take them out the game, So maybe some verbiage that you could give us to support our teams that are impacted. And then also a really consistent part of this business that I feel like people are greatly impacted by as well is when some of their teams start to fall off. So if you're in a lead on here and you had those strong, lines that really launched you and got you to E3 or E2, and then those start to fall off, it's easy to be impacted and think something's wrong, or it's easy to think like, oh gosh, what do I need to do to fix this problem? You always encourage us to launch new lines, and that's just part of the game, right? Having those down months are part of the game. But can you really give us some language around how we can coach some of those lower levels not to be so impacted by this, and then how to call them to rise up to really overcome and go to the next level?
So first of all, great questions. Let me start with this. So John Wooden is maybe the greatest college basketball coach ever. Maybe you could argue with Pat Summitt or Coach K or whatever, but John Wooden was the man. 10 national championships for UCLA. He was the man. So John Wooden told his team, now he's working with a bunch of 18, 19-year-old kids. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, the best in the world. Lou Alcindor, who became Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Walton, like the best players in the world are his players. And he said, I wanted reporters, when they walked into my locker room, they wouldn't know if we won or if we lost. With a bunch of 18-year-old kids, holy cow. Meaning, they lost, the kids weren't just like dejected through the floor. If they won, they weren't elated through the roof. They were emotionally mature and emotionally stable. And there's a book called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. I'm trying to remember who wrote it. I'll think of it here in a second. But Emotional Intelligence 2.0 says that you can increase your income by $36,000 a year. $36,000 a year if you'll increase your emotional intelligence. We all know what EQ is, or IQ. IQ is your intellectual quotient, like how smart are you, how much information can you retain and learn and retain. EQ, emotional quotient, emotional intelligence, is how emotionally stable are you, how emotionally mature are you. So the best way to do it for your team leaders, my friends, is for you to freaking do it for yourself. Like you gotta have some emotional maturity, some emotional stability. Again, all the stuff we talked about, keeping perspective, keeping some vision, leading with vision. So, Court, the first thing I'd say is this: besides doing it yourself, the first thing I would say is cast some vision. You say, hey, listen, Sandy, sister, I know you were down this month. I get it. But sweetheart, this is just 1 month. Like no tree grows to the moon, dude. Like it ebbs and flows. When we talked about Tesla earlier, going from 31 billion to 640 billion in the last 6 years, I promise you. Now, first of all, that rocket ship would look like this. If you were looking at a stock, it would literally look like this. I mean, it would just be like, what just happened? But I promise you, if you zoomed in with less perspective, it looked like this. Is everyone following what I'm saying? Tesla was up, they were down, they were up, they were down, they were up, they were down. Now, the overall trajectory was just like mind-blowing up. I get it. But it was up and down. So that's part of business. Part of business is up and down. Part of business is the ebbs and the flows. So you don't get too high on the good days. You don't get too low on the bad days. I mean, Court, you said to me earlier, and I appreciate the compliment, you said that I'm pretty consistent. I am pretty freaking consistent, dude. I'm not that high on the good days and I'm not that low on the bad days. Like I'm pretty consistent. By the way, in math, for those of you that are, engineer types, right? A to Z, the 2 points. You're trying to get from 2 points, point A to point Z. What's the fastest way in math to get from 1.1 to point 2? It's what's called a straight line, just straight line. What most of us do is this: we're in, we're back out, we're back in, I'm out. And then we hear his Facebook Live train, we're like, I'm back. And then we're like, a team member quits, we're like, I'm not back, I'm out of here, screw this. And then we watch one of these. We're like, I'm back, I'm in. And then we're out, and then we're in, and then we're out, and then we're back in, and then we're back out. Can any of you guys relate to that? Just this huge emotional roller coaster. My friends, shorten the ins and outs. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might have some of these, but don't have the big ones. Like, two great questions leaders ask: how far do I fall, and how long do I stay down? Like, don't fall too far. You know, you're going to have some challenges. Don't fall down too far. Question number two: how long am I going to choose to stay down here and just grovel on rock bottom? Like, not that long. Like, I'm just back. I'm just back. Sometimes when you're down, and I'm talking emotionally down, you're still in the company, you're still in the business, but your emotions are down. Your vibrations down, your frequencies down. This is when your best prospects are walking right by. This is when, if you would have been turned on, if you would have been tuned in, if you would have been queued up, you would have had that conversation and been at a whole different frequency. Quick analogy for you is a litmus test, an emotional roller coaster litmus test. My mentor said to me, now I was making a couple $100 a month. I was like a team leader or below. I was like a senior consultant. The guy his business was about 72 million a year. He was making a couple $1 million a year. And he said, Justin, and I want to ask you guys the same question. He said, Justin, if I could take my whole business and place it under you, I'm now one of your lines. So let me ask a quick question. If I could take my whole team and I could place it frontline to you. So Tara, Christina, I'm now frontline to you. Frontline, me and my whole team. So that's a big team now. All you got to do is like kind of get the other legs to work together somewhat well. He said, would that change how much energy, passion, drive, consistency, and focus you put into your business? Will you guys be honest with me? Would it change it for you? Can I tell you what I told my mentor? I go, yes. You know, it's like, can I be honest? He goes, yeah. I go, yeah, it would. And guess what my mentor said? He said, shame on you. He said, you're letting the tail wag the dog. He says, you first gain the consistency, you gain the focus, you gain the passion, you gain the energy, you gain the frequency, and the business follows that. You don't get the business and then get committed. You don't get the business and then get the confidence. You don't get the business and then show up with consistency. You don't get the business and then show up and say, you know what, I'm not going to fall too far in down days or too high in up days. Like he goes, you first do all that stuff and then the business follows you. And man, it was just like a little mind blow. I mean, it was a little, you know, he was known for a straight talk, but it was so helpful for me. And I want to ask all of you, like, are you showing up with the consistency you would if you were making the income you want to make? You know, are you showing up with the passion you're showing up with right now if you had the team you wanted or the business that you wanted or the rank that you wanted? And if the answer is no, remember, the passion, the energy, the commitment, the consistency, the emotional maturity, that goes first. The business, the income, the rank, the team follows that. Okay, that's the first one. Second thing is this. I'm just going to be 100% honest. We're leaders here, so I'm just going to talk to you as a leader. Those that take you to the dance aren't always those that take you home. So sometimes the ones that take you to D1 aren't the ones that take you to E1. And sometimes the ones that take you to E1, not all of them are the ones that take you to E3. And sometimes the ones that take you to E3 aren't all the ones that take you to Elite Black 1 or from Elite Black 1 to Elite Black 3. I could literally tell you guys names that were people. So like Tony and Sarah had been with me this whole time, the whole journey. They've been with me the whole journey. Tony and Sarah, can I share truth talk for a second? So Tony and Sarah, for those of you that don't, you know, I know we have some newer people in here. Tony and Sarah are Elite Black 3s, which is the highest rank, like the new thing. You know, they're legends in the profession. They just crushed it. Their first 50 people that joined Modere, their first 50, not 15. Do you know how many of the 50 lasted? 0. None. They were 0 for 50, dude. But one of the 50 led to a line, which is Jackie Wilson and this incredible Canadian team, which led to Joni and Jackie and that whole team. That team's done, and I mean, now I'm trying to do the math quickly in my head, but tens of millions of dollars in revenue. All 50 quit, but one of the 50 led to Joni Robbins and led to Jackie and led to the team. Is everyone following? Would that be worth, like, what if they would have quit on day person 33? They're just like, I'm out, dude. I'm out. I suck at this. And by the way, Modere sucks and I suck and we all suck and this isn't working. And they're just, I'm too far. And they just grovel into rock bottom and stay there forever. No, they just bounce back and then bounce back and then bounce back. Now that team is one of their humongous teams. So those that take you to the dance aren't always the ones that take you home. Like my friends, let me hit you with it from this angle. The average Subway owner operator, if you own a Subway sandwich store and you're an owner operator, means you own it and you're the one slapping the mustard on, and you have to reach your fingers in the tomatoes, and you have to hire and fire the 16-year-old kids. You operate it too, dude. Okay, so the kid that with acne, you're the ones working with those kids all day long. So you're the owner and the operator. The average income is between 80 to 120. So for the sake of this example, let's say it's 100 grand a year. 80 to 120, so let's say it's 100 grand a year. 100 grand a year. But what if your goal is 250? What if you want to make 250,000 a year and you own the one store? Well, you can scrimp on the mustard. You can put a little bit less mustard and a little bit less lettuce, because if you put a little bit less lettuce, they still pay full price, but you saved a little on the lettuce. And maybe you even put one less little strip of turkey on, because you want to just save, you want to scrimp just a little bit. So you increase your profit just a little bit per sandwich, maybe a couple pennies. Okay. But if you really want to make 250, guess what you freaking need to go do? You need to go launch a brand new store. And you probably need to go launch 2 new stores, because your average is 80 to 120. So, is everyone following the math? Like, let's not confuse ourselves. So people say to me, they're like, how do I make my income go up? I'm like, guess what you need to do, dude? Go launch some new stores. You know what I'm saying? Like, go launch some brand new lines. Like, this is business like every other business. You can squeeze all the juice out of the turnip that you have and just, come on, team, work harder. And just squeeze all the volume out of the team you already have that you've been riding for 3 years. Or you can love that team, serve that team, add value to that team, and go launch some new teams. Now, Mallory Garshnick, Mallory's a E3 heading into Platinum Black 1. She and I are on the phone the other day. She goes, I'm a little stuck. I'm just going to give you guys the strategy she and I had. She goes, what do you think? And I said, how many of you enrolled? I think she had enrolled 60 or like 61. I said, Mallory, my first company I enrolled 106 to find 3. My second company I enrolled 36 to find 5. Number 1 did it. Number 22 did it. 33, 1, 22, 26, 28, 32. Those were the ones that did it. Out of 36, number 1 did it. 22 did it. 26, 28, and 32. Those are the ones that did it. I found 5 out of 36. What if I would have quit on 16? In Modere, I've enrolled 200 and I think it's like 60 people, social marketers, and I have 20 elite lines or higher, and then all your director lines and whatever. Guys, those elite lines or higher, those are valuable lines, dude. It's like a new location. Those are valuable lines. So guess what you should do? Go launch some new lines. Guess what Mallory did? She's doing 365 days of positivity is what she's saying. Good for her. I think she's 60 days in or whatever. She went out, she led the way, she raised the frequency, she got more public, she got more visible, and I think she's already enrolled like 22, 23 brand new people. Like, let's go. Like, this is separation season, my friends. Everyone's distracted, you're focused. Everyone's full of fear, you're full of faith. Everyone's, getting more quiet, you're more bright. Like, this is your moment, dude. And you say, but how could I even dare call my neighbor about college right now? And I'm saying, how could you not dare? Let's go. Your neighbor needs you more now than they've ever needed you. They need some positivity in their life and some brightness and a higher vibe and frequency and maybe a shift in perspective more than they've ever needed it. And your business is relevant to them right now. Your mentorship is relevant. So for those little team leaders that are like, dude, my check was down. Hey, you're a business owner, my friends. You say to them, hey, listen, let's take full responsibility. Like, was your volume down last month? Yes. Okay, cool. Let's get our volume up next month, and let's go give yourself a raise next month. Like, did you guys see that? Like, it's all like, that's why I love this, is you got to own this stuff. Now, remember, it's easier to whine, blame, complain, make excuses, and blame it on everyone else than it is to take responsibility, draw a line in the sand and make it go happen. I would say, hey, let's go shift the perspective. Let's go get a raise this month. Or don't let them fall too far. Don't let them stay down too long. Just say, like, let's snap back out of this. Those 2 questions are important questions to know. How far are we going to fall? How long are we going to stay down? Like, we got this. Let's snap back out. Let's get back to work. So anyway, I hope that's helpful, Cor.
Yes, so good, Justin. So I gained so much value from this. I know everyone on here, I hope you guys agree with me that we needed this season. We needed this table to sit at on Mondays just to be poured into, so then we can be filled up, go out and pour out to our teams. My biggest takeaway is walking away knowing that this is a separation season. And as a leader, I have to go first to really rise up in my business, in my leadership, so that way our teams can follow. So Justin, we love you. Happy birthday. We're so grateful for you. And I can't wait to see everybody again next Monday.
Love you guys too. We'll be here next Monday. If hopefully this was helpful, hopefully this gave you some strategies, hopefully this gave you some insights. But my friends, this is our moment. This is your moment. Let's go to the next level. Let's separate ourselves from everyone else, and let's go light this week up. So love you guys. Appreciate you so much. Talk soon.